Hi, Andy XL back with another NFXL podcast and the last of my positional ranking updates post the combine for the 2026 NFL draft is going to look at the cornerbacks. So, once again, looking at the team needs after a very hectic start to free agency, I think there are now about 15 decent or good cornerback vacancies that may be up for grabs. Five or six of them may be taken by the best available free agents that are still out there. There are still probably five or six decent ones out there, but that leaves around 10 or 15 from it. But I think there are 10 or 15 candidates from this draft that could at least compete for those roles. So teams are going to have the option to say, do I prefer that draft candidate to that free agent? That's the equation. They'll have to weigh up. But there's 15 decent candidates, is what I'm saying in here, or good candidates. But in contrast to the outlook for safeties, once those 15 good vacancies have gone, my team's need list seems to indicate a distinct lack of demand for depth at cornerback. So after a busy day one and day two for cornerbacks in this draft, day three could be worryingly quiet for those outside of the top 15 in my rankings. And depending how many of those free agents get taken up between now and the draft, even those outside the top 10 here could see their drafts, could see themselves drop further down rather than move up. So let's have a look at the candidates. So the round one candidates that I've got at the moment, I've got four of them in round one. The first one is Mansour Delaney of US LSU, who's at 9 on my big board. Now he looks increasingly likely to be the first cornerback taken, as the second guy, Jamod Micaiah, is at Tennessee, is at 12. The doubts still surround him on his return from a serious injury that caused him to miss all of last season at Tennessee. Um, and that means that we could be. He didn't do much to reassure teams at the combine. No positive vibes appear to have come out of that, is what I'm saying. So Delaney at 9, McCoy at 12. The third one is Avion Terrell at Clemson at 22, and Colton Hood is the fourth at Tennessee at 27. So potentially Delaney in the top half of round one, McCoy somewhere in the middle. Although that could change greatly if news, positive or negative, about his injury materialises. He could rise above Delaney again, or he could drop way down. He could even drop out of round one. But let's see what news comes up prior to the draft. Terrell and Hood are then sort of looking at later round one territory right now. Excuse me. So they're the four round one guys I've got. Then I've got how many? So one, two, three, well, six going in round two. They are Brandon Cece of Carolina at 38 on my big board, D'Angelo Pons of Indiana at 47, Chris Johnson of San Diego State at 48, Keontae Scott of Miami at 56, Keith Abney of Arizona State at 59, and Davison Igbinosun of Ohio State at 60. So those 10 are my ones that are favourites to get the good roles, as it were, right now. And they're all going in rounds one and two, as far as I can see it. Then I've got, and I'm just totting up again here, the next five who are in round three. But the first of those has definitely come out of the combine well, and that's Traden Stukes of Arizona. So he could well challenge those, the likes of Abney and Igbinosun and Keontae Scott to get into round two. And again, it depends what demand, is. You could see more than 10 going in the first two rounds. But I've got Stooks at 71 on my big board, closely followed by Julian Neal of Arkansas at 72, Malik Muhammad of Texas at 83, Jalen Kilgore of South Carolina at 90, and Devin Moore of Florida at 93. So those are my clear top 15, because there's a 15 spot drop after them, which isn't a lot really, but it is a gap. Now, Neil Mohammed Kilgore in particular have all been on a sort of treading water kind of thing, not really making any looking like they're going to move up, should I say. Devin Moore might do, but we're really sort of looking at those, like I say, it's possible once we get beyond Stokes in particular that the demand starts to drop off, and therefore these rankings might deteriorate, is what I'm saying. I expect more might not, but the Neil Mohammed and Kilgore might be vulnerable to that. And then, like I say, after we get through those top 15, I've got another 15 on my list currently in my top 250, but I can see potentially due to lack of demand, all of these guys that might do well to hold on to their current rankings. And here they are. So round 4, Chandler Rivers of Duke at 108, Will Lee the third of Texas A&M at 114, Dalen Everett of Georgia at 116, Tacario Davis of Arizona at 121. Bryce Butcher of Oregon is at 142 on my big board, but he's another one who's come out of the combine well, so he might squeak himself into round 4. He's borderline round 4, round 5 right now. That takes me down to he's number 20 in my quarterback rankings. Then 3 more in round. I'm keeping track of round. 3 more in round 5. Damani Jackson of Alabama at 169. The wonderfully named Ephesians Prysock of Washington at 170, and the nearly as well named Hezekiah Masses of California at 174. They're the round 5 guys right now. But as I say, particularly when you get to the ones that are sort of in the 170s, and all of those Jackson, Prysock, Masses are all in that area. They could well be sliding because of lack of demand. Then we get to 24 on my cornerback rankings. Charles Demings of Stephen F. Austin is at 187. Devin Marshall of NC State at 189. Thaddeus Dixon of North Carolina at 209. Lorenzo Styles Jr., brother of Sonny, out of Ohio State at 213. And TJ Hall of Iowa at 220. They're the round 6 guys. Now, Styles is another one who athletically did superbly at the combine. And Charles Demings is done okay for himself as well. In fact, all of these did fairly well at the combine. So they might be able to hold their rankings. It might be a case of the ones above them sliding back towards them to make one great clump in that area of the draft. And then in round 7, I've got Toriano Pride of Missouri at 231 and Jaden Kennedy of Oregon, who's right on the edge at 250 of my top 250. So, like I say, if I'm right and demand does start to drop off, and particularly towards the end of the draft, all of these candidates from 15 downwards, 16 downwards, could see themselves drop, potentially a whole round due to lack of demand. So that's it for cornerbacks as I see it right now. Next up, I'm going to start going through updating each. I did state the franchise addresses for every team. I'm going to update them starting from probably next Monday to reflect what's happened in the very hectic early stages of free agency, and therefore leaving them potentially what's left for them to do primarily in the draft now, because over half of NFL.com's top 100 free agents have gone. There's only 2 of the top 20 left, and I think there's only 8 of the top 50 left. So certainly the top end of the free agency crop has been skimmed out. So already we're looking at, right, teams are now going to have to turn their attention to the draft. So wait for those coming next week. See you soon.